Making this video in August of 2025. It's an old Radio Shack commercial thing. Make some comments on it about some of the gadgets they show in it. I'm 51 years old, born in the early 70s. Grew up in the 70s as a little kid. Grew up in the 80s as a teenager. And young adulthood in the 90s. So I remember what the world was like when it was still analog, before all the digital stuff. When you actually had to do stuff on your own and manually. When you had creativity. There was no AI, there was no bots. There was no cell phones. There was nothing like that doing things for you. You had to do it yourself. We used to build our own radios, damn it. Let's watch this.
We're traveling through a dimension both of sound and ideas. We're at a place
I
where
got Rod Sterling doing it. You know it's an old commercial thing.
Wireless transmitter, measured time and light. 65
So-
electronic projects brought to reality with this.
So you would buy this project board, and would have capacitors, resistors, diodes, all these things. And you would build and wire these projects that were, you know, they would measure light. They would have a digital display. They would do math. They would do all this really, really cool stuff and really taught you how to use components. Now everything's in a transistor chip, you know, but back then you could put your capacitors on there and, you know, store the energy and have it go into a digital display using a little I forget what they call them. Oh, shit.
Science fair kit. Astonishing, perhaps, but you can find it
Transistors,
for
that's what it's called,
$17.95 in a place that's known as Radio Shack.
Yeah, you could build your own, all kinds of technology.
Radio Shack, store-wide manager's red tag. Arcade. There's more. The color computer is an educational aid, a home management tool, and
Yeah, the personal computers,
information
which
service. The programmable, expandable TRS-80 color computer from $399 only at Radio Shack, the biggest name in little computers. So this home accounting program goes into the Radio Shack computer. Okay. What did I do wrong? With thousands of programs. Solar calculator with memory.
Oh yeah, calculators. Solar calculators were a big thing. Imagine that.
Christmas electronics sale only at November 1983. Business. Utilize computer networking or create a multi-user system. The Tandy 3000. The power to put you in command. Tandy. Clearly superior. In business for business.
So you had the
Only
IBM
Radio
to
Shack
the
Computer
Apple
Center. It's a Radio Shack Merry Christmas. Well, I remember that Christmas. Dad gave me my first shortwave radio from Radio Shack. What memories.
I have lots
This
of
Christmas, we got our
shortwave
son's Color Computer 3 from Radio Shack. It hooks right up to our TV and was on sale for less than $130. The Color Computer.
I remember how exciting this was, man. Being a little kid and having one of these computers. I mean, they were not powerful at all compared to today in 2025. But in 1983, 1984, if you could get graphics on a screen and you could write a loop program in BASIC, you know, where you just say print and you just have some text. That was like the coolest thing in the world. You could do math on it. You know, you're like, oh man, that's crazy.
It makes learning fun. Jimmy even lets me use it for word processing when he isn't playing computer games. Lucky I still got my shortwave. Save $70 on the sale price color standards of quality in the industry. And Radio Shack provides total service and support. I'm convinced. Tandy Computers at Radio Shack Computer.
Oh, they must be playing some music.
Remote commander, you should be all set. Any questions? Radio Shack. Activations, no problem.
No, now they're into the cell phones.
You've got questions. We've got answers. Now, get 50
Yeah, I remember Radio Shack, man. I love going to Radio Shack. I was an amateur radio operator. I held a amateur technician's license, which allowed me to go on a 2-meter band. And I remember these home setups. I remember the older guys, you know, I was a kid, so I didn't have the money. But, oh man, I remember that microphone. Everybody wanted one of these. I finally got my hands on one. This is actually a newer one because you got the computer there. I wonder if there's any old pictures of one. Let's see. So this is what a real typical one looked like. They had linear amplifiers, standard wave ratio. It would measure the your antenna and make sure the frequency was going through at the right ratio. This guy's got multiple microphones. Yeah, this is another setup. That picture of this kid looks like probably his granddaughter actually. Yeah, it's kind of funny. You would transmit, and back then, you know, in the 70s and 80s, you couldn't even call people in other states without getting like this really expensive, they call long distance charge. So the idea of talking to somebody in another country, it just wasn't going to happen. And ham radio, the way it worked is you bounced your signal off the ionosphere. Say you're in New Jersey and you were talking on your ham radio, could bounce off the ionosphere and hit somebody in, say, you know, England or New Zealand. And they had these cards. I wonder if this guy has any cards on. No. And you get a call. It was called a calling card. And you would sign it. And they would send you one. You would send them yours, and it would prove that you contacted them. And what it was is you collected as many as you can. And those were all the contacts that you would make with people all around the world. And it was really the only way you communicated with people. Ham radios eventually led into cellular phones because it basically was the same technology. Because cell phones were originally analog that went off the towers, and they were just relay systems using a phone modulator. And they became digital. This looks like an old setup. Although this might be AI. Gotta be careful. There's AI setups. Another modern one. Definitely a modern one. These are ham radios. Okay, so here's the calling cards right here. These are the cards that you would send to people and they send to you. So you would get a bunch of your own, print them up, and then when you made contact with somebody in another part of the world, you would mail it to them. So it was exciting. It was fun. That's how you did things. You may have contacted somebody in Australia and give them your call sign. Your call sign is usually the country's Federal Communications Commission would assign a call sign to that person. Old antennas. I had a big, each section, I had 4 sections. Each section was about 8 feet. So it was, whatever 8 times 4 is. Horrible. 32 feet. And I would climb that thing too, man. And I'm scared of heights. Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of stuff I would be doing. Same kind of tower I had, just like that too. You just climb up, you know. No safety straps or nothing. Yeah, this dude did this many times with my antennas. Yep, that's a typical setup. More modern one because the guy's got the computer going. It's 3.91. That's a long frequency. That's really low. That's a low band frequency right there. You gotta have special license. Not a special one, but And advanced. I think that's advanced. Yep, that could be me right there. Kind of stuff I would do. I had the guy wires on it and everything. In my parents' house in the backyard. Yep. Old bulletin board systems. Remember these things? So this is what the internet was before there was an internet. You'd dial up into a, they call them a BBS, a bulletin board system. And you would download programs or, chat with people. And I remember when chat first started on these things, it was amazing. It was like the coolest technology ever in the world. And you always had to find a bulletin board that was in your same area code so you didn't have to pay long distance when you're connected to it.
I'm dialing in with a Cardinal 28K modem on this side, and on the BBS side I've got a pair of, here we have Tuxedo Cat Lounge.
Mustang, Tuxedo Cat Lounge, yeah. I remember those funny names, man. Oh, there's the sound. Oh, made that connection. And then if somebody in your house picked the phone up, because, you had one single phone in your whole house and then different...
This is a custom sticker, and this is a custom label.
Somebody picked the phone up, it would mess up your connection.
Connected.
Connected. Oh, wow, Tuxedo Lounge. Yeah, they always had exactly what it would. This is exactly how it would happen. You would type in your name. Sometimes it would ask you if you want to pass. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yep. You would sign up. Oh, man, brings back memories.
It's named after my two Tuxedo Cats. The bulletin board is running on a Atom motherboard, which does not have high-speed UART. So,
yeah, it was just a goofy thing.
The version.
Yep, sometimes there were games. The Red Dragon Inn.
Too bad. See, baby news.
Yeah, it was the first interactive computer stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it was cool, man. Yeah, you'd have these big-ass modems. This is guy working on at the terminal. And back then, not like today, everything's plug and play. Back then, you had to configure everything. You had to configure ports. You had to configure buses. You had to make sure you're on the right IOs, in and out ports, and everything. And sometimes you'd have conflicts with something, and you'd have to reconfigure it. Yeah, man. And this is what these systems.
Okay, so this is missing.
This is the beginning of pretty much what cell phones were it became. And I remember in high school, this is a ham operator. I understood what relay systems were and all that, and we would talk about, could you ever have phones that you could carry in your pocket? And I was like, man, that'd be crazy. I mean, technically, I guess if you could figure out a way to make a small device powerful enough to you gotta remember, battery technology in the 80s and early 90s it wasn't good either. I mean, you couldn't power things for that long. So I remember thinking, yeah, you'd have to put towers everywhere, and you'd have antennas all over your city. They would have to come up with better battery technology, a stronger transmitter, and it would just be insane. I was like, yeah, there's no way they would be able to do that. It would just be such a big effort. And lo and behold, we have cell phones. And I remember on old UHS TVs, you used to be able to tune your UHF to be able to pick up cell phones. Let's see. And of course, that was until everything went. That was before everything went digital. Yeah, here you go. Somebody did do a video on it. That is funny. I remember as a kid thinking that was so cool. That's exactly what it was like, too. You'd be able to get the right frequency of somebody calling somebody. I'm sure this is all... I'm sure this is a made-up video here, but it illustrates what you used to be able to do. Anyway, alright, so this is just talking about the old times, man. The old analog before everything went digital. Prior to, the modern world of 2025 right now, but, and someday this world's going to be the old world. And I remember the 70s and 80s, and I'm sure it's kind of sucked. Like, if I went back there, I'd probably hate it. But, you have the memory of it, and the memories are fond memories. It feels like it was simple compared to now. I like analog. I like them. I don't own my own, a dishwasher. My cars are all manual. I don't carry a phone anywhere. I have one for work, but I don't carry it. I never carry a phone. And, I listen to the regular, the regular radio with, what do they call it? Transistor radio. I don't listen to internet radio or anything like that. I listen to regular transistor radio. That's just what I am. Anyway, I think we're going to go. Have a good one. Think about it.